press this button, see what happens. All right, I pressed the button and it happened. We are live, we are recording, it says so right here. Today's topic, a little different, a little bit more topical, more current affairs. Let's remember what we're here for, guys. A bit of English practice with in a different format, you know, so it's a different way of practicing your English skills. The topic for today, should there be politics in sports? Very current, obviously, with the FIFA World Cup happening right now, being in the news all the time. Who wants to go first? I just want to say, remember, guys, we're here just to have some fun and practice English. First of all, we're not here to push opinions. It's not about arguing or fighting. It's just discussion. Yes, George.
Yeah, my first point is to understand what is really the relationship between sports and politics. And I think politics and sports operates or at many levels in that topic. And the most people wish we need to separate sports and politics, but I think it's not possible to inseparable, oh my God, hard to pronounce, the sports and politician, both of this influence both sides at the same time. That's my first point.
You mean it's not possible to separate the two? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, that's not possible to separate the politicians from the sports guys.
Okay, so the question for you is not so much should there be politics in sports, but in your opinion, there is politics in sports and there's nothing you can really do about it anyways.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool, very interesting. Thank you very much. I see Heinrich has his hand raised. Yes, Heinrich.
I wouldn't say that it's bad if there is some politics in sports, because politics is everywhere. But I think this way, like it is in the last few years, I really hate that. That I hate those Black Lives Matter things, which were apparently a pressure on people. They were forced to participate, and I hate that kind of manifestation, which are not.
Sorry, Heinrich. Sorry, Heinrich. Let me stop. Sorry, Heinrich. Let me stop you for a second. Let's go from George's from what George said. Do you agree that sports and politics are inevitably connected?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think there are good connections and bad connections. The old good connection was like it was in the old Greece, where there was a peace when there was a sports event, and where people met, and it was a good kind of politics. But what at the moment happens in many parts of the world is a bad version of that. For example, if a government tries to make some governmental advertisement or jingle by using his sports people, and I think something like that always happens at a time. For example, if what happened with those rainbow colors in Qatar, that was more or less governmental politics, which was put into. I don't think that the sports men were asked what they think, but they were forced to do that. Otherwise, they would have lost their millions, and that's something which I hate.
Okay, so in your opinion, sports and politics are intertwined, but there are good connections and bad connections. And in your opinion, what's happening right now, it's more about government agenda, maybe politicians pushing messages rather than athletes themselves. Is that what you're saying?
That's
okay.
It, yeah.
Thank you very much, Heinrich. Yes, Daria.
Yeah, I just agree with previous 2 points and want to add that, of course, it can be avoidable. I mean, politics in any sphere of our lives, but it must be regulate the relationship between sports and politics. Also, I think that this situation is because of lack of rules, and to avoid pressure from government, we need to establish some rules, but still sportsmen, like a person, can be able to display their opinion because they influence people. They have to be responsible of their fans, and it just can't. Yeah, it can't be avoidable. So it must be established in some way, and yeah, it's my main point. We need to work on it instead
Okay,
of
so you,
reading.
right, so you kind of agree that there will always be politics in sports, but what we should try to do is not get politics out of sport, but try to regulate politics in sport.
Yeah.
And try to get the message from the athletes instead of what Heinrich is saying, the government pushing messages that they want, or the events being used by different entities than the athletes themselves.
Yeah, it's
what you
like in a nutshell, sportsmen, it's not a tools, but there is a person. So they must show their personality.
Okay, so sportsmen as individuals should be allowed to say whatever they want to say without government interference. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Daria. Yes, Artyom. Oh, I'm sorry, sorry, Artyom. Kostya, do you know how to raise the hand? There is on Zoom, there is a raise hand button. I think I saw you trying to raise the hand like this. There is actually a button somewhere.
Yes. Yeah,
Do you
it's
see it?
It's just deep thinking. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. I thought you were okay. No problem. Sorry, Artyom. Yes.
Yes. In general, I agree with all that points. We can't divide because sports is part of our life, like politics. So we can't divide or separate one thing from another. But you know, it for me it sounds a little okay. How to be more politically correct. I mean, it sounds a little. I don't understand how we can regulate that question, because we came to the corner in three turns. Like sportsmen should have ability to express their own ideas and views, but how we can control? Is it their own ideas or views or not? it's really impossible. You know, we came to the corner into three turns. So that's why I don't think that it's a good idea to talk about some rules and restrictions, and we have to and again, that's why I think that we can't divide sports from politics, and that's why we shouldn't restrict that process anyway. Again, and I'm against it. To be honest, I think I'm against about such ideas that we should separate politics from sports, and because of that, what I just have explained, it's impossible. I don't understand how to do it. So
Okay, so I see you're kind of, like you said, agreeing with everybody in that there are politics. There will always be politics in sports. Maybe we should regulate, but in your opinion, regulating is exactly. You don't think regulation would work because if we prevent governments from influencing, how can you possibly prevent governments from influencing? They could directly influence the athletes and use them as mouthpieces. And
maybe
that
Edward,
would
his
circumvent
friend.
the regulations. Yeah, exactly. So you kind of raise an interesting question. Regulation sounds good, but how can we possibly regulate fairly as well? I think.
To be honest, may I add a little? Regulations doesn't sound good.
Okay.
Don't not sounds good.
So, but you're saying regulation doesn't sound good because you can't think of a way to apply it fairly and in a way that works. So because of that, then you think that there shouldn't be any regulation then. It's more fair that way. Is that what you mean? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Artyom.
yes.
All right, wow, yeah, regulation. Could it work? How would it work? Interesting points raised. Politics in sports. Yes. I think, is it time for Mete? I think it's time for Mete. Yes, Mete.
I want to escape sometimes. Okay. And my favorite philosopher in ancient times is Protagoras. And you know, I'm interested in philosophy. Protagoras says that the man is the measure of everything in the world. If the man is good or trustworthy, everything can be good, I think. And I agree with George, Henrik, Derya, and Artem in means of that there is necessary connection between sports and politics in the world. And we cannot say that for instance, I defense that there shouldn't be politics in sports. It's impossible. We cannot deny it. At the same time, I can say that everything is related to commercialism, advertisement, and money in globalization, I think. For instance, wrestling is not so popular among the people in the world, but football is so popular. And we heard some news about Senegal, Brasilia, Turkey, Ukraine, and some other countries in the world after World Cup. For instance, in 2002, I heard something about Senegal. For me, it's first. It was first. There is a country and its name is Senegal, and Ukraine and some other countries for some countries and societies far from us. So we can say that without politics, it cannot be sports in the world, and we cannot think sports without politics. This is my position, Boris.
Okay, so you're saying that sports and politics cannot be separated. There will always be politics in sports. I feel like we're all kind of in agreement on this, I think. I mean, not including myself, I'm just saying like everyone is kind of agreeing with this point that sports and politics cannot be separated. There is the question of regulation, that maybe not. I don't know, where do we go from here? What about... I don't know, maybe let's try to go with a new point, if someone has a new point. Normally I would go with everyone, Irsiad. Let's go with Irsiad first.
Yeah, I think the sport is about play sportive or play in a good manner. So I don't think that, let's say I want to play a chess with my friend, that is a sport, or I want to play a tennis ball with my friend. It is a sport, but we don't have to... it doesn't have to include or involve the politics, right? So, but I know when we are dealing with the big team, like a national team, which is funded by the government, and the government itself is a product of the politics, I think this is not really, they are not inseparable. But we still need to divide or separate the politic things with sports, because let's say if I am a son of a sport minister, let's say, and my father want me to be in the part of the national team, maybe he just say to the person in charge to put me in the team. I think that's the bad politic that play in that situation. So I think yes, we can divide between the politics situation and also sport, since the sport itself is about the sportive thing, or the situation that happened in a good way. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you, Irsiad. You raise an interesting point, I think, and one we all assume from the start. When we say sports, we're talking about huge international events, but sports is more than that, right? Playing chess with your friend can be sports. Little teams, just local teams, or should there be politics in those places too? Whereas, and then you kind of make the connection, the national teams being funded by the government, they inherently are part of politics. Then it's just unavoidable. Okay, I think the connection you make with the son of the sports minister being guaranteed a place through his connections is a little bit more into the field of like bribes and corruption in sports, which I don't really want to touch on today because I think that's another debate. But I think we can stick to politics. Thank you very much, Irsiyad. Just before we go back to you guys, let's hear from Kostya and Murad. Kostya, yes. Should there be politics in sports? Is it avoidable? How? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think?
First of all, my first thing was I'm against. And the main question was the politics for sports or sports for politics, and that the question is difficult. And I've heard almost all speakers that said the good arguments. And my conclusion for this minute is it depends on result, on some context of what politics wants to get, and why? Because I agree we cannot separate the politics in sports, because the politics is more abstract thing, and politics everywhere, because it's like main thing on logic of like social mechanics, something like this. But the main thing that the previous speaker said, that how it could be ecologic for involving, for example, if politics or government wants to share some opinion, some good opinion for society, and then get better life in the country, for example. And this politics, that's okay. For in sports, it's like some good tool for this. But from another side, it's not okay when someone wants to abuse society by politics. And the conclusion of it depends on not between politics or government, and what will we get from this combination, I think.
Interesting. Thank you very much. So I'd like to go back to what you said in the beginning, which was that when you arrived into this discussion, in your mind was like, we should separate them. What was your reasoning then? Like, how did you see it then, before you heard the speakers, right? When in your mind it should be separated, what were your initial arguments, just to try and get some perspective from the other side? I feel like we're agreeing too much here.
So of course the sport should be without politics, because the first of all it is an example of possibility of our body, of our internal culture or internal overall, and it could be like entertainment. I don't want to get toxic news, for example, or some toxic things. I want to relax. I want to rest. I want to live this small piece of.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand your argument, and I'm glad you made it. I think that's a valid one. You know, like the function of sports, the purpose of sports, one of just relaxation and fun, and bringing messages, heavy messages, sometimes political messages, when you're just trying to relax and have a good time. Maybe it's not the right time and place. There's a video on YouTube with Bill Burr talking about this. It's funny. But thank you. You know, it's we're not here to try to change minds necessarily. We're just here to discuss it, and I'm glad we could hear your opinion when you came into this discussion, because I think that's an interesting point to make, that the purpose of sports could be just having fun. Like, I don't want to hear about problems. I can hear about problems when I just watch the news, right? We have 24 hours news cycle now, so it's not like I could miss it. Thank you very much, Kostya. Yes, Murad.
Yeah, and finally, I must say something.
Yes.
First of all, I am convinced it was impossible separate Olympic game or World Championship with politics. Because in beginning, first world place who is made this fact, it's Greece, I think. What does it mean? For they try unifying all population and achieve something. It's mean for, I don't know, do something with common, like, with all population, for everyone have idea or accomplish something, maybe. And but now in modern life, I think it's getting related directly with a lot of amount money, big amount money. It is too much have effect in all world, because it's type of community all world who is membership or who is alone. And what else? It's something one. It's impossible divide. And about video, I think, like I said before, it's just a show for it's American character. For they have always your own opinion, but that doesn't mean for all world agree with them, because Americans it's Americans, but all world it's over. I'm for sure for England population have other opinion, or German population, or Turkish, or Russian, or so on, so on, so on. Any country have your own opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there are like 4 different points that you made. Let me see if I can remember some of them. The first one is you go back to what everyone has kind of been saying, that it's impossible to separate sports and politics, right? The second one, you talk about the history of these international events. You talk specifically about Olympics and international events, saying that they were born in politics in a way. They were created as a way to show or to unite people throughout the world.
You're absolutely right. Even I don't remember how many.
I'm just saying what you said. So
in Greece, but it's even there are time. It's people, government try affect our population, suggest idea Olympic game.
Okay. Let me go back. Let me go back to your points. The third point you were making is that it's all about money now. Do you mean like beyond politics? Do you mean beyond politics?
But
okay.
Boris, how you can imagine politics without money, or money without politics? It's impossible.
Okay, so for you, because of the money involved, it's become even more kind of connected to politics, because it's the importance and the financial situation of the event makes it political by nature.
And idea how affecting population.
And the fourth point you make is something about Americans. I'm not too sure.
The American, because American always unique. It's because any American have your own opinion. It's not the same Euro Union or some same country.
Okay. Yeah, different cultures have different perspectives. Different individuals have different perspectives within those cultures. So I'm not too sure.
If we talk about American culture.
Okay, whoa, I think that's a different debate, man. I think that's enough, Murad. No, I'm trying to see how it ties into should there be politics in sports. Your fourth point.
Impossible separate.
Okay, that's your first
politics
point. All right,
okay. Sport. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Murad. Thank you so much. Yes, let's go to George. I feel George has a lot to say now. He's been listening and waiting.
Yeah, I wait, but let me add to Murad's opinion on that topic. It's like really quite interesting, because I think it is quite possible to separate sporting from political posturing, as we recognize the relationship between politics and sports. And I will give you an example on that. I think to influence the society, to influence the economic, what Murat said, is in our recent years, the Olympic Games. The Olympic sport games influence a lot, and also made the Olympic Games, made, I think, constructive and positive contributions to resolving political issues. Especially, you can see that worldwide, before the Olympic Games starts and after that, political events such as the civil rights movements, feminist movements, and a variety of sporting events. And the best thing, what you know, is also what is really sports. You described that sports is also private, but sports is also a society. And many sports were designed to enforce social needs. The best example, I think, is the Japanese martial arts. They are celebrated as a means of spiritual development and social ordering in Japan. Or in the last 200 years, cricket. Cricket is very popular in India, but cricket is an instrument through which the Victorians in their times sort of to teach the ruling class to rule and to plebs to obey in this time period from the great imperia there. And both of them, that's what I say. It gives positive, it's negative aspect on that topic. But in general, I would say it's possible to separate sporting from political things and the relationship between the politics and the sports in private, but not worldwide. That's my opinion on that topic.
Okay, so in your opinion, it's possible to separate sports and politics, but not when it gets to Olympics or international events.
Yeah,
but any kind of smaller events, it's possible to separate the two. And you also want to highlight the fact that sports has been used throughout history as a political tool to maybe influence society and culture in places. Thank you very much.
Thank you for summarizing.
Yes, Daria.
Yeah, so I agree with the previous one, but I want to answer for them from the one from the past.
Okay.
And about how we can regulate this relationship, and maybe it will be like not so adult point of view, but I truly believe that we have to raise our sportsmen and other children too, but sportsmen mostly understanding that they have a rights, they finally will have a responsibility. And I think that it's most powerful motivation that they will have in the future that can separate their opinion with politician government opinion, you know. So I mean that it's quite important to understand, to explain people that politics is quite important in everyday life, and you can't avoid it. You have to participate in it. If you go to the top, I mean, like if you became as a famous person, you have more responsibility. You have to do something from yourself. And I think that, it's really just only one way how to raise this awareness. Started from the childhood, and it came not just for the sportsmen. Also, I think that it's a good phrase that if you can't win, so then lead this. So I don't think that you can avoid, forbid everything in your life, especially politics in every areas. And if we all understand this, we need to realize how to work with it, so we need to put more efforts toward this, you know. So, and if only one way that I see that to raise our children by this way.
Okay, so you're going back to the point you guys were making. I think Artyom raised the point where it's like
Yeah.
regulation, how? It's not possible, so let's just have no regulation at all if you can't enforce it all across the board fairly and equally. And so you're saying that, in your opinion, we should still try to regulate, and that it even
Yeah.
goes beyond that. It's
Yeah, I mean, for example, we raised our children by respect to adults, yeah, from their childhood. And finally, we get the result that they respect adults, yeah. So I think that it will work in any kind of our, I don't know, not
Culture?
opportunity, but in any area, you know. So, but if it comes to sport, as usual, people try just concentrate on sport and only sport. You don't need to think about everything around you, and it's not right. And if we try to change it, if we try to include some part of politics or other relationship from the childhood, it will be raised in this result. So it will be possible to regulate this. Yeah,
I see.
by small
I mean,
steps.
okay. I think it's interesting. I think there is one thing I don't really understand is when you talk. I feel like you're trying to say that we have shared values across all cultures in the world, such as respecting adults. Do we?
Yeah, no, it's about adults. It's just an example that will be understood by other people that you can.
No, I understand, but I'm just questioning whether we do have these shared values across all cultures in the world, because from my personal experience, the world is wildly different in different places. Again,
Yeah.
not better or worse, just very different, and sometimes hard to understand as a foreigner traveling to a different place. Things as simple as, respecting adults maybe are or respecting teachers or education, valuing education, for example. It definitely is a lot more important in some cultures than in other cultures. There is emphasis on groups versus individual dynamics in different places. I'm just not sure where would be this shared kind of values, because you're talking about finding a way not to just regulate sports, but bring up athletes from a young age to have good values that they can share around the world through their fame and exposure, right?
I don't want to name it's like a good or bad one, just their one. So they
Okay.
have to have their own opinion. And yes, of course, our culture, other culture have other, I don't know, values. But if it comes in the world stage, it must be somehow regulated for
And they should
all the
also
people.
be able to express their values even if they kind of go against your own values, is what you're saying.
Say it again.
So you're saying that you want to bring up people well, and when they get to be athletes or have this kind of exposure, to be able to talk about their message freely as adults. But what I'm saying is that the people that you raise well with the values that you think are good maybe go against other people's values in other places. So should people with values that go against your own also be able to express themselves, even though it kind of goes against what you think and believe? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
of course. It's a thing that it's not about that I want to hear. It's that what I want, they want to say. And it's quite important to understand that and like avoiding the government pressure that try to force their own goal or something like this. I don't want to create the ideal world with ideal people. They think the same.
I like your world.
But
It's a
I
nice
want
world.
to create a nice conversation with other people.
Thank you so much, Daria. Thank you so much. I was just trying to really understand what you were saying because I felt it was very important. Thank you. Yes, Heinrich. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
I think sports often is something like politics. It works in a similar way. There are rules which are sometimes not respected, and one can experience about it. And the results are not so terrible. In sports, one is fighting, but one is not killing. And one can change the rules. In politics, of course, one can change the rules but that can be very disastrous if they are changed too much. A country can lose a lot of standard of living or whatever. And in sports, one can try it. If somebody does not agree with the rules in football, he can try to found a new football company which has slightly different rules, and or he can change his sports. In politics, a normal inhabitant of a country cannot change much. He can only emigrate if it's too terrible, but this is very bad. So one can train democracy. One can train to accept what rules are. One can train to accept that rules can be changed. One can train to accept what what's the name of it, the judge in a sports, does man say? We say Schiedsrichter in German. Is it the judge who decides if a goal
the referee, the referee.
The referee.
Yes.
One can train to accept what the referee says, and that's some kind of fair play, which can be very useful for politics also. If you are used to think about laws, about fairness and about unfairness and so on, that can be very useful for living in peace together on this world.
I see. So you're kind of going with the psychoanalysis here, about using sports as a way to train people, to teach people, to help people function better and create better societies. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
To have a space.
It's about what I said.
To have some kind of space where you can train without making too much harm.
Training without harm. All right. Thanks so much, Heinrich. Yes, Murad, let's do this.
Yes, it's about what I said before, because it's in beginning it's this idea in big sport Olympic game, united in effect in population, do better. But if you look at in transparent, I don't know it's a correct word or not, it's this thing. You understand? Can you imagine any teams now without club who is investigate a lot of money with these teams or something? It doesn't matter. It's not about soccer. It can be about basketball, box, or any sport. But who is related with money? Who, of course, with regulation. I like it, this word, regulation. It's precondition regulation. It's mean for it is politic. Who is decide who can participate, who can't participate because you haven't money or something else.
All right. So you're kind of
type of it is type of influence in population and world, of course.
So money.
Yes.
It's all about money. Money makes everything. Money makes the sports and decides the politics and decides who gets to play and decides the regulations ultimately.
Any regulation, precondition, it's effect.
Okay.
For how you regulate.
Thank you very much, Murad. Yes, Mete. Oh, Mete, you're muted if you're speaking.
Yes, only one point we left, I think. That's why I want to add one point to our debate: chicane. We ignored, I think, we ignored the events of chicane. For instance, 30 years ago, I think in Europe, Marsilia, there was a championship match between Marsilia and Milan, I remember. And after it, do you remember, Boris?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Champions League, Europe, and at the end of 90s, there was another or beginning of the 2000 year, I think, there was another chicane event in Italy, and Juventus, maybe you remember, Juventus, because Juventus was defeated.
What is a
Yes.
sorry, Mete? What is a chicane event?
Cheating.
Chicane.
Oh,
risk
cheating.
game.
Ah, cheating.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I remember there was a relation between government powers and sports team, football teams in Italy, and there were many discussions about it in Italy and general Europe. I remember. I want to add this point because I think this is related to politics and money.
So
Yes.
cheating in sports.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's right on the edge of what we're talking about today. It's like bribery in sports, like Garcia was saying earlier. I feel like that's a whole another debate, you know. But yes, thank you so much for sharing, George. We're gonna stop here. I think we've kind of gone around a lot now. I'm gonna end the meeting. I'm gonna end the stream. Sorry, on YouTube. Bye bye, guys. End the stream. Yes, and.